Hello guys, Dr. Shungu Mupfawa here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about the male reproductive system using a past paper, Life Sciences Paper 1, written by grade 12s in November of 2024. We are going to answer question 1.4. When given such a question, it is important for us to understand the opening statement and study the given diagram before we dive into answering the questions. So, let us look at the opening statement. The opening statement reads, "The diagram below represents a front view of the human male reproductive system." Front view. If you remember well the video that I did on the male reproductive system, I highlighted that this diagram can be provided as a front view or a side view. And I encourage you to familiarize yourself with both views because you never know which one will be presented in your exam. So today, here we are. We are presented with the front view. Make sure you understand both views. Right. The next thing that we need to do is to study the diagram. Let us study the diagram before we dive into the questions. Right? So we're going to study this diagram by labeling the parts that are given in this diagram. We're going to start with part A. All right, part A is this part. I'm just going to add some color so that it is easier to remember. That's part A. Part A is our prostate gland. Right? Then we're going to look at part B. Part B, we have two of them. One this side and the other one on the other side. And part B is our epididymis, the one that stores the sperm or sperm cells temporarily before they mature or until they mature. Right, then part C, I'm just going to use a different color there, is this part that starts from the bladder there and goes down to the external environment. And this part is our urethra. It is part of this system, of this reproductive system, but it is also part of the urinary system. Right? Then let us look at part D. Part D is this whole thing, which is the organ that's found in this male reproductive system. And this organ is the penis. All right? Then lastly, we're going to identify this part. There are two of them. We also have another one that side. Remember, this is a front view, so we'll be having two, or both of them will be shown. So this part is our testis. It's one, so it's STIS. STES when there are two. Right. So we have studied our diagram. Now we can safely answer or address the questions. Right? When answering or addressing a question, it is very important for us to understand the instruction of the question because each question has got instructions. So we need to understand the instructions that are provided by the questions as well as the mark allocation so that we are in a position to provide the required answer. So my advice would be highlight the keywords. For instance, here, highlight the keywords. Okay, let me use this color. Highlight the keywords so that they stand out and you don't forget what you are supposed to be doing. So you highlight the keywords in your question because they are the ones that will give you the instruction that will help you to answer the question. And also highlight the mark allocation because it also guides you in terms of how much you are supposed to provide for your answer. Okay, so you highlight them so that they stand out, so that you are constantly reminded of what you are supposed to be doing. All right, so for question 1.4.1, the question reads, give the letter and name of the structure that A, forms part of both the urinary and the reproductive system. So that's our question 1.4.1 part A. So let's look at how we answer that question. Some learners don't finish the exam because they don't know how to answer the questions. They repeat the question and then they answer the question later, right? And by so doing, they are simply wasting time. So we don't want to waste time. So I'm going to show you exactly how you are supposed to answer the question so that you save your time. Right. So question 1.4. No. It has to be a thinner pen. Right. Question 1. Let's use blue. Question 1.4.1 part A. Right, 1.4.1 part A is asking for the letter, number 1. Number 2, the name of that part that forms part of both the urinary and the reproductive system. You're going to see that it becomes easy for us to answer these questions because already we have studied our diagram and we have labeled the diagram. So now we're simply going back to the diagram and we're getting our answers. So that part that forms both the urinary system would be the urethra. So it's part C, which is the urethra. So our answer is going to be C. Then we say urethra. As simple as that. Right? Then we also look at the diagram. There's also another part that forms part of the two systems, and this part is this one, D, which is our penis. So we're gonna say or G right? Then part B, we're gonna write the question requires us to give a letter and a name of the structure that stores sperm temporarily, and we have discussed that one before. It is maybe let me use a different color. It is this one, the epididymis. So it's gonna be part B, the epididymis. Okay, all right. Then we look at part C. Likewise, part C is also asking us for the letter and the name of that structure that secretes testosterone, and that part is, let's use a different color, it's this one, part E. Right, it's part E, which is the testis. Okay, right, so we're done with question 1.4.1. It is a simple question which is easy, which is requiring you for for recall, right? To show that you have the knowledge on the male reproductive system and nothing else. Right, now let's look at question 1.4.2. 1.4.2 also is requiring you to identify. All right, identify. In this case, you are identifying part A. All right, so you are simply identifying part A. All right, so you are simply providing the knowledge that you know that you have about the male reproductive system, which is just simple recall in this case. So the part that we are looking at now is A, part A. So we're gonna write A here. That's how you answer. Then you identify that part. We go back to our diagram, and our part A is this one, the prostate gland. So we simply take it from our diagram and we write it here, prostate gland. Right? Now that's our part A. Let us look. Oh, so it's part A. Let's write it this way. Then part B. Part B requires a bit of some understanding of concepts here. Right? It is asking for the type of gametogenesis, right? That is taking place, part E. So here you need to know what gametogenesis is for you to be able to answer this question correctly. What gametogenesis is, the two types of gametogenesis that we have, where they take place. For you to be in a position to answer this question, this is what you need to know. And this is how I would analyze this question. All right. So we have, let me use blue. We have gametogenesis here. Sorry, leave thinner pen. So we have gametogenesis. We have two types. We have spermatogenesis and we also have oogenesis. Right? Spermatogenesis takes place. Right? When spermatogenesis takes place, we are actually producing sperm. All right? And because we are producing sperm, it takes place in the testes. Right? Oogenesis is about production of ova or egg cells, and it takes place in the ovaries. Now, let's answer our question. Right? So identify the type of gametogenesis that takes place in part E. So it's about part E. So we go back. It's about this part, which is our testes. Right? And we have identified it here when we're doing our little analysis of that question. Right? So the answer is spermatogenesis. Okay. Right. Now let's see how the markers would mark this question at the marking center at the end of the year. Right. So question 1.4.1 required letter and name, and we have our letter C, right, which is the urethra, or you could write D, which is the penis there. Then our part B was about part B on our diagram, which is the epididymis. And then part C the one that's storing that's secreting testosterone, is part E, which is the testis, and that's our 6 marks. Then we move on to question 1.4.2 part A, which is simply asking us to identify part A, and part A is our prostate gland, and our mark is on prostate gland only because it's one. Remember, it's one mark because it's 1 mark here and it's also 1 mark here. So for part B, the answer is spermatogenesis, and it's also 1 mark. It's also 1 mark. So in total, 1.4.2 is 2 marks. So overall, this question 1.4 is 8 marks. This is an easy question, guys. This is an easy question. I expect everybody to be in a position to answer this question and get the total marks. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with your colleagues, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you all in the next video. Bye.